We want you to keep a reflection journal in your journey through the Associate of Arts program. This could be a handheld journal, which we prefer and we highly recommend. The issue with that is you're going to have to learn how to carry it around with you, or to have it in a regular place at your home or at school where you know you'll be able to visit it and to work in it for 5 to 10 minutes a day. Um, Ideally, you do have a dedicated space to sit down with your computer and the manual and to do assignments, and your journal should be there with you. If you haven't ever used a handheld journal, we recommend just buying a cheap composition journal that you can buy at um, office stores, paper supply stores, but even at department stores and grocery stores in their school supply section. And don't overthink this. It doesn't have to be too complicated. It's just a place for you to jot down ideas and insights that you want to remember or that strike you in the moment as important to know. You aren't going to be quizzed or tested in the traditional sense of tests very much at all in the program. So this is not something that you need to be taking notes for in order to do well on a test. If there ever is a quiz or a test, your mentor will work with you on that beforehand, and you'll know exactly what the situation is going to be like. But that's really not our style here at Ravenburn. The style is much more trying to use material that is interested in its own way, in its own right, that it creates interest, maintains it, and rewards it for you, and for you to see and recognize that process, whether it's a website, a short story, a poem, a book, a movie, a documentary. Does it create interest? Does it maintain it? Does it reward it? And how does it do that? And as you are involved with this material, that should be interesting and captivating from the get-go as much as possible. To what extent will you run across concepts or ideas or facts that you think are going to be important for you to remember in the long run in a way that is sort of a depth level intelligence, not the surface level that's dealing in actual factoids and numbers and measurements and things that if you don't use it, you lose it, but the deeper insights, the principles, the methods, the habits of thinking that you'll see, or habits of response in terms of the way characters are put into a certain situation. These are much more of on the principle level. And once you start getting these insights, you need to write them down somewhere. We would also recommend that you write down any poetic phrase, any element of communication, usually a phrase or a technique, vocabulary that you might learn for the first time as you're watching something or reading something, and you feel like that's a very useful word to know. The learning portfolio is also, the reflection portfolio is what we call it, is actually also another place for you to practice and to study. If you need to remember some of these concepts, you can use the pages of the journal to develop memory ties, whether you're writing that new word down 5 or 6 times or you're drawing a picture to help you remember the word. All right. And the heartbeat here is for you to involve the manual elements here in helping you remember the material. So draw pictures, write fancy lettering to help you remember a new vocabulary word. Learn how to use white space to format your thoughts. Don't just go straight down all the time. Maybe switch it around and think in boxes or in circles or in webs. Experiment, explore. We're not going to grade your journal. We're not going to ask you to show us your journal. We're going to ask you to honestly affirm that you have been taking the journal, that you have been working in it. You need to work in it at least 5 times over the course of the terms, each term. And that is the bare minimum, but that is a very bare minimum. I don't know if any good is going to come from that number. I would say you need to be going into your reflection journal at least 2 or 3 times a week. All right, 8 weeks, that's going to give you 24 to 25. Let's say 20 times. All right. So, and you don't need to be spending a lot of time in there. This is just part of us saying to you, as you get involved with interesting ideas, concepts, people, conversations, events, situations, filmography, as these ideas start presenting themselves to you, they might be sparking something in you. How are you going to capture that? How are you going to get that involved in the long process of being something that you remember for the rest of your life? These come in stages. The first stage is you are just simply introduced to it in the fleeting moment that you read it, hear it, watch it. How are you going to capture that, put it somewhere? This reflection journal is the first place for that. Then it sits, it stews. A week later, you look back and you might realize that it's really not that important, or it's not something you want to remember. But maybe a week later or a month later, you look at it and say, yes, I want to move it forward to the month reflection sheet or something that you develop like that in your journal. We'll talk more down the line of strategies to really make this journal effective. But you should be allowing things to percolate there, some to disappear, some to become emphasized, because you are the process of filtering out the stuff that you thought was important but maybe not from the stuff that really is, and it's beginning to reveal itself because it's not going away. And you are finding yourself actually using it sooner than you thought. Then your journal entries down the line over that material can be used in a way to produce other filters. So eventually you work your way into having a few principles and elements that are permanently with you, or at least with you for a long time. So this is really the process of archiving in your memory and making it a permanent part of the front memory, if you will, the stuff that is active, not just the stuff that is hidden way, way back and you have to fight to bring it out, but to bring principles and thoughts and words and phrases and elements like that you can use to be a better communicator, to be a more rounded thinker, to be an empathetic partner in this community that you're in. And to be self-directed learners, you need to learn how to take all this information that's coming at you and to filter it down so that you find the nuggets that really are what makes this program work. Now, you're going to have to find those. You're going to have to figure out how to filter them down. And the journal is really the first step. But it's a very useful step, and we want you to get in the habit of doing this. Anything goes in the journal. This is something that you're going to have to decide how you enter material there. It could be much more visually oriented if you want. You could use drawings. You could use whatever works for you. Again, your mentor is never going to ask to see it. This is something that is private and personal to you. So we're not going to grade it on the content, but we will give you a grade for your actually being involved in the journal. So by extension, if you don't do anything in the journal and you can't affirm that you even have a reflection journal and you're working in it, you will not receive the credit and the grade that you should receive for it. So we will actually penalize you for not doing a journal, and we'll give you a full credit for just being able to say, yes, I do the journal and it's my business, but I want you to know, you're telling your mentor, I want you to know that I do it.